Okay, that was some season. Yeah, there were little twerks that they threw in there that they themselves came up with because I'm pretty sure that this season aired before Survivor South Africa season 6. So, you have to credit these guys with the idea of voting somebody out to go to the other tribe. But I feel like all these twerks worked decently well, and I'm glad that other than that voting to the other tribe, it didn't seem to affect the game that much. Though the kidnapping one member from the other tribe, I did find that to be kind of unnecessary, especially since they didn't really have to do that. Yeah, you can argue that they had to because they had to pad out the days somewhat, but going from 22 to 2 people in technically 54 days, that gives you 10 extra days to play with, so you can't argue that they were wasting days, but doing that little twerk, I'd say that did waste some days. And while the second Exile Beach thing that did feel unnecessary, at the same time, they have done this on the American version, Survivor Guatemala, and one could argue based on how long that kidnapping bits where Brooke kidnapped Sue isn't that much different than the kidnaps that they did in Pearl Islands and All Stars, except there wasn't a vote afterward. So ultimately, I think that these little twerks were all right, but am I saying that because I had more faith in these people than Survivor South Africa, or am I saying that's because the American version is just trying to do so much that now I'm okay with little things like this? I don't know. But I'll tell you this much, it was nice to see a season that actually managed to give proper camera time to almost everyone. That was really nice. And I also really enjoyed how each of the three tribes really felt different, because Vaval, at the first incarnation, they seemed to be the tribe that had like the perfect balance between getting along with each other and having potential to win a bunch of stuff, but at the same time they didn't really feel like a powerhouse, because Sinapu was, in my mind, the real powerhouse tribe, but they lost or suffered just enough coincidental circumstances on the tribe to put themselves in a really bad position, because them voting out to Bianca instead of Peter, I mean, like, I understand why they did that, but wasn't that great of a decision. And then that challenge that they lost right before then, had anyone but Lee been throwing the sandbags, Sanapu would have won, if you ask me. And then, even though, again, I understand why they did this, had they elected for Connor to rejoin them when they went from 3 tribes to 2 instead of Lee, yeah, they would have been weaker physically. It might not have won all those challenges, but that probably would have cemented the loyalty between them a lot more. Sure, Connor was kind of not the odd man out, just an additional number in that big group that voted out Bianca and was threatening to vote out Kylie for a while, but I don't know, it just gave off that impression. And then you had Aganoa, which was the tribe that was stressing honor and integrity at the most at the beginning, but just can't win a challenge to save their lives. And then most of the challenges that they did win, they got lucky at. Right, so it's just nice to get a different dynamic from all 3 of those tribes. They were a lot of fun. it was kind of obvious once we went from 3 turns to two that Sanapu was getting the edit that they were the tribe that would probably win everything and then cannibalize each other. But let's be realistic. It took them quite a long time to actually start cannibalizing, because you're going to argue Nick and Sue, but Sue technically was only on that tribe for one round, and she didn't vote for them that much once the actual merge happened. It was Christy that was the additional vote there, and she never really felt like part of the tribe, although she did say that she got along with everyone. And then Nick, well, given how the guy kept shooting himself in the foot, it's more his fault rather than Sinapu's fault. And then when they actually did start cannibalizing on each other, it was pure Sinapu going against everyone that wasn't pure Sinapu, because Sinapu had eliminated, Sinapu Free had eliminated everyone except for the ultimate take to the end person, Christy. You can start cannibalizing each other when the only person left is the ultimate take to the end person. That's what happened in Worlds Apart, although technically Will did vote for them every time that there was, And then had Flick not flipped, L would have gone, and then had they stuck together the next round, which if they had voted out L, I think that they would have, because even though Lee would have most likely won that immunity and then used his cancel a vote, they still would have been up 3-2. So, they almost did it. So you got to tip your hat off at that. Right. Then the challenges, I'm really impressed that they were able to squeeze in a couple of original challenges, or when they were borrowing stuff from the American version, they make it different just enough that it's fun. And thank you for having it last right. It was a little bit rushed, but between the 3 people that were there, they had spoken to just about everybody, so, not bad. And then the host for this show, first couple of episodes, he was awkward, I'll admit, but once he started wearing the hat at the challenges, I felt like he was able to step into his own. There were a couple of times at Tribal where I'm like, are you sure that you're not going a bit too far? But usually the way everyone answered him made my concern in that area level down. So, yeah. You selected a good guy as the host. Hopefully they keep this guy. That's not to say that the previous hosts for this show were bad, but of course the seasons that they were on, weren't so great. This, easily better than those two, though I did download what is technically the first season of this show, because at the very last Tribal Council, Jonathan said Australian Survivor 2016. I think that's what I'm going to be calling this review, because calling this season 3 of the show, I'm not that comfortable doing that. Right. Other things to mention. I do like how, even though there were hidden immunity idols, they didn't actually matter too much. This season felt like, I want to say like Gaboon or Token Teens in terms of gameplay. Well, you know that there are idols there, but they just don't matter that much in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, Nick saved himself, and everyone knew he had the idol, but again, everyone knew that he had it, so it works out there. And then Kylie doing her bits with the idol, I'm willing to wager that she actually wouldn't have gone. I think that it was always going to be split between Nick and Tegan, but they the other pure Sanapu members convinced Nick and Tegan to vote for Kylie just so they could get that idol gone and make it an even playing field. So that's nice. It's always kind of interesting when you get a situation like this. Right. Other things to mention. Okay, talking about Nick real fast. I think I might have mentioned this once or twice in the comments on this channel, but I actually did watch about half of this season, not too long after it originally aired, but then real life got in the way. So I never actually made it to the merge, and then I forgot just enough that it was still fun to watch, because I did remember Sanapu being the tribe that I was rooting for the most, and I'm like, I know that they lose a couple of challenges along the way here in a big spectacular manner, but I don't remember which challenges. So that helped. But anyways, when I was watching Nick then, I couldn't really figure the guy out, but now I'll admit, I actually like the guy. Yeah, he kept shooting himself in the foot, but it's so easy to do that on this show. Like, if I'd been paying a little more attention to the tribal council speeches once we got halfway through the merge, I'm sure that I would have gone like that for a lot of the pure Sanapu members, really. So, yeah, I got no problems with that guy. He did good, I think. Now, let's talk about the last three people, because I think I said everything that I can about the pure Sanapu members. Once we got down to the last three, I'm looking at that group, and I'm thinking, okay, everyone is saying that Lee and Elle are the big power people here, but Elle hasn't gotten the right edit. She's always been Lee's right-hand woman. So I don't think that she's winning this, but based on how I'm getting feedback from the group, I can tell that if Lee or Elle win the final immunity, they're going to take each other, and Elle's going to win the game, but she hasn't gotten the right edit to win this game. Whereas Christy, they keep mentioning the big dream of hers, so to speak, in that area. But again, Lee and Elle are totally going to take each other, and even though Elle, without question, will beat Lee or Christy, she hasn't gotten the right kind of edit. So she's not going to win, but the only way she doesn't win is if Christy wins this last immunity. Which, once Elle dropped out of, I could tell, yeah, it probably will be her, though I was looking at Lee saying, do not give up, dude, because if you do, you're going to lose any chance you still have at winning this game, because by that point, I had begun to think, oddly, based on this edit, I'm actually thinking she will win, but thankfully he actually genuinely fell out of that last immunity challenge, so I was like, phew, Christy actually earned that last immunity. And then when you heard those final tribal council speeches, Lee, he had something prepared, but he was, as my dad puts it, too honest, not objective. Christy? Objective. Bam! Said exactly what she was supposed to say. And it was just like, whoa, where the heck has this girl been? But it was because, you know, she never had anyone truly to help her in this whole game. She was just an Aganoan for the entire pre-merge, but then just the right amount of things happened when she was the only Aganoan member left on Vival 3 that she wasn't talked about that much, and then everyone just kept brushing her aside, and then she just gets that last immunity. And when we get down to the last two, we're in a situation that we haven't seen in a long time, where we've got the old school situation of one person who's been in a sort of driver's seat for the majority of their appearance, but it hasn't been smooth and doesn't come up with the right kind of jury speech because they were far too focused on getting to that point, but not what they do at that point. Whereas you've got the person who's been quieter but has a totally different perspective on things and then is able to charm people. And with that speech and given the edit, I'm like, I don't know why, but I'm actually thinking that she'll win. And yeah, she got all but one vote, though had Connor and Kate been on this jury, they really should have. Like, why didn't they? Because it's typical in Survivor, though this hasn't always been the case, that the jury is just under half of the cast, rather than about a third of the cast, which is what it actually was. But had Connor and Kate been on the jury, you would have had an 11-member jury. Huh? But, yeah, I'd say that she deserved it because she knew what she was doing right at the end there. Yeah, she got lucky, but as Colby said in HVV, there's luck in this game. So, a tiny bit underwhelming, but at the same time, I can't help but feel like we did get some decent edit representation with her. I argue that this is more like a Survivor Marquesas situation, where the winner is doing stuff, it's just not that obvious, or they're working the game as best they can, versus like Big Brother 17, where in that season, the only person that didn't get a good edit was the winner. I say Christy got a good edit here, it's just a little underwhelming given how much Lee was doing at the start of the game and then how those Pure Sinapu members almost pulled it off. Yeah. But it was a good season. I'm definitely looking forward to continuing with this, and I'm hoping that I can enjoy this more than the American version, but I think you all knew how I stood with that. Later.